Do games get worse or better just because a year or more have passed? Not really, unless they got huge updates or DLCs to better them, which Mario Wonder never received. But its 1 year anniversary is a perfect time for me to look at what it did better or maybe also did worse than the other 2D Mario games. 2023, and it was finally time for another 2D Mario game. It only took 11 years, that's a long time. No, the Mario Makers do not count, because the first Mario Maker will forever be the best 2D Mario game for allowing me to play as Baby Metal or Chitoge from Nisekoi. Somehow Nintendo really loves to just stop making 2D Mario games sometimes, because it also took them 40 years to go from Mario Land 2 to New Super Mario Bros. DS, which was a great game. Then suddenly they pumped out the new Mario Bros. Games in such a short amount of time and disappeared with them again, which makes me feel a bit sad for the DS New Super Mario Bros. But also for the Wii game, kinda. The DS one had so many little quirky gimmicks, and it was finally a new 2D Mario, and the Wii one introduced the amazing multiplayer which they ruined in Wonder. If the Wii U and 3DS New Super Mario Bros. Games wouldn't have happened, people would probably not talk badly at all about them, but they're the main culprit why this burnout happened, and for a good reason. But was the wait worth it? Did Nintendo actually manage to create a new Mario experience to blow you away with? Something that makes you think, wow, this is the new evolution of Mario? Well, not really. Does it have to? Does Nintendo always have to put these standards higher and higher, or is it the curse of being seen as the company who makes the best jump in ones ever? Let's get the most useless thing right out of the way, the story. Yep, it's Bowser again, but no princesses are getting kidnapped. EP, instead of abducting a cutie this time, he crashes a ceremony of Prince Florian, who wants to show Mario and his friends these cool flowers that can change their very own reality, but Bowser just yoinks a wonder flower that turns him into a flying fortress and takes over the whole flower kingdom. The kingdom that is ruled by this measly caterpillar, Florian. So now it's up to Mario and his besties, plus the caterpillar, to save the kingdom from the evil oversized turtle by collecting wild seeds that we get at the end of every world. The world sadly is a bit of a mixed bag for me. It does feel like a new coat of paint, but when you peel off the new color, you still see the old dirty things right under it after you gave your card to a shady card painter. Yeah, sure, it's not the Mushroom Kingdom anymore, and instead it's the Flower Kingdom, but let's be honest, it still has the same structure as the classical Mario games, and it pulls down the game because of it. You got your green fields in 1-1, you got your little desert that is built out of cakes and other sweets, a bunch of cloudy clouds and all the other stuff. Is that bad? Yes or no? Or maybe yes and no, because with the graphical change, they do feel much more different again finally, but it's still just the same really. There are a few stages like the Fungi Mines or this level where you see Bowser's castle off in the distance that are pretty cool and new, but overall it just doesn't make you think it's radically different from what came before. But none of the other new games ever really did that either eventually. I think at this point that's just what 2D Mario is. But it makes me sad. Why do these 3D games have so much creativity in their worlds, but here they are not allowed to? Mario Land 2 on the Game Boy is like the only one that had so many new fun areas, like being inside of a whale or having a graveyard and so many more. Why can't we have the same here? I do love that the world map lets you actually walk around it instead of just being on a set path, except for tiny paths that push you through them. It gives you some nice freedom most of the time, being able to pick many different levels instead of just having to choose between two at most. It's also really colorful and cute, and I love cute things, who doesn't? Cute and edgy things are the best out of both worlds for me. Obviously the biggest change are the Wonder Seeds that just change the game completely sometimes. A different perspective, no problem. Turning into a gooey yummy slime that I would love to eat or have inside of me, here you go. Suddenly having to answer a quiz with questions like how many Goombas have you killed so far? We have that too. I hope you feel bad for killing those Goombas. Because you should. How would you feel if someone would just murder you out of fun? There is no other reason to kill a Goomba except for fun, since they pose almost no threat. They can't jump, they just run around after you like a silly mushroom. And you feel threatened enough by them to murder them? Pathetic. How many insects have you killed in your life so far just because they may have invaded your personal space? Oh no, a tiny little bug who is over 1,000 times smaller than me. Quick daddy, get the newspaper and smack the shit out of it. Why can't you just let the poor tiny lost insect out again? Yeah, this may be your house, but the second you leave your house, you're invading their space. They were here first and will be here while we are long gone, and they will thrive with us being gone. How would you feel if some big bug would suddenly exist and stomp you because, well, he just can? The wonder seeds are neat as small little sections of a level that don't overstay their welcome at all, which is also a bit disappointing though. They're over too fast sometimes. I wish some of these concepts would have been explored a bit more. It keeps them fresh but also makes them feel like a bit of a waste to only use them for such a short section. Sometimes more is less and sometimes less is more, but sometimes more is also more and then less is also less. Levels that would not have felt fresh also do feel fresh again because of other little added gimmicks. There's stages where you gotta stay on a moving platform, and those were just so boring in the older games because all you had to do was stay on it and try to avoid enemies. There wasn't much more to it. Now with newly added gimmicks like these connect these thingies, you actually have things to do while you stand on the platform. You gotta collect them here and there to get to the purple big coin. You can make it easier by collecting them all and all that. Or this one where you got a little fellow on board with you and you can make him jump out of there to kill enemies for you, grab objects, etc. whenever you jump. They're not mind-blowing additions, but they're noticeable enough and especially engaging enough to make you have a special appreciation for them. Some levels even feel like you're actually doing some exploration, unthinkable when it comes to the new boss games, where all stages are pretty much just going from left to the right, if we ignore the ghost houses. Like this sand level where you gotta activate switches and run all around the place and not just left to right. And many levels also have lots of verticality to them, which isn't exactly new, but in the new boss games, the verticality always felt limited to just one screen and was mostly used in the towers. Here you go up and left, you go up and right and left again, things like that. Another thing that tries to make you feel like you're having new ways to play the game are the badges. Some just make you jump higher, some let you float with your cap, you can even have a grappling hook, and I have to be honest, they're fun to use, but it's impossible to really put levels into the game that make you think they were built around them, except for the levels that unlock them which act as tutorials for them. There's just so many of them that it feels like a bit of a waste of a fun idea. Imagine if we only had 4 of them but could change them instead of a level, instead of only before one or after failing the level, making you think about how to use them to their full potential sometimes. Could maybe be a bit lame though, always having to go into a menu in a jump in one where you mostly just want to jump in one instead of having to go into menus. So my idea sucks. Luckily I don't work for Nintendo. Most of them feel more like training wheels for when you don't know how to ride a bike, giving you an option to make an already easy game even easier. Unless you pick the one that makes you invisible at all times. It's kinda fun to play the game like that though, or the one that makes you keep jumping. Reminds me of the worst power up in the Galaxy games though. I never want to see Spring Mario again ever in any kind of game. These things make you look forward to each new level to see what they have come up with, and it doesn't just stop there because another big change is that they finally went to the drawing board and came up with so many new enemies. The days of only seeing the same 5 enemies are over and they really went all out here. They also got amazing names and some of my favorite ones are Revvers, dry bone dog chain chomp things you can pull on to rev up the engine and they just go poof and destroy things on the way till they need a little nappy. Sure, they may be a bit like the chain chomps with a dry bones reskin, but Wowla Koopas. Koopas but with roller skates. Yeah, not impressive but just really cute. Better than just having totally normal Koopas all the time, right? Roller skating is fun. I haven't done it in a while, but I kinda want to again. The Daedalus, big Eichhörnchen that shoot seeds at you, but the second you come too close they turn into cowards and run away, unless there's a wall in the way because they're too dumb to jump over it, so now the impending doom is not avoidable anymore, unless you don't want to kill them, which you shouldn't do since they're so cute. Cute things should never die. Mormors, salamander-like little dudes who do their best cosplay of the average middle-aged Nintendo YouTuber who always wears his cappy Mario hat and tries their best to hype up some average Nintendo Direct announcements and consume anything in their path. Mumsies, who always make me sad when I have to pull on them to kill them, but I always try my best to only pull a bit on them before I get too sad and just continue on my way. It's a bit like when you do your own business and realize you're actually way too sad to do it, if you know what I mean. Out my way, or out my way. To be honest, they're nothing special except that I think they're really cute and angry and they just kick ice blocks at you. Mostly only pick these because of the name. They really are not lying about their name. Out my way. And those were just a few. When there's enemies in a game, there's often also bosses. So one that has super cute and fun new enemies, but does the same also go for its bosses? Surely in all of that time, they did also come up with new, unique bosses, right? Nintendo wouldn't let us down like this and just use the same boss over and over, right? Let's be honest, 2D Mario games were never that great with the boss battles, especially in modern times. Boom Boom, the Koopalings, Bowser Jr., except for him in Yoshi's Island and the bosses in that game in general, are all extremely lame boss fights who just keep getting repeated over and over without any big changes. Sadly, not even Wonder can escape that fate, and every single boss fight is pretty much Bowser Jr., and they're not even varied enough to not make you moan and think, really, Bowser Jr. again? When I saw him show up for the first castle for sure. Okay, I get it, why not? But when he also showed up at the second castle, the sad realization set in that I will not see any other bosses in this game except for him and his daddy. And my only question is, why? Why is Nintendo so dead set on using the same bosses? We have a whole new kingdom, even if it's not totally different than the Mushroom Kingdom, a whole new set of enemies, all over the levels, so why can't we have a whole new cast of villains? To a degree, I do understand why it has to be Bowser again, because it's just the way it is nowadays with Nintendo, but I don't understand why every single boss battle has to be his son. He has a loving dad, but sadly no loving mom, so maybe that's just Nintendo's way to give him that missing love. The favorite spoiled brat of some of your parents' friends you have to hang out with, even if you don't want to. These fights are not even really fun because despite them changing a tiny bit, they're still the same battle. Jump on his head whenever you can and it's done. I'm just done with these lame boss battles in 2D Mario games. I want more than just waiting around so I can jump on someone's head. Make them more like puzzles or moving stages that you have to survive while getting attacked or something. Everything else is pretty creative, so why can't the boss battles be creative either? For example, on the airship stages, you get I don't really want to call it a boss battle, but you have to get through an extremely easy sequence to press the button to make it go kaboom. Make something like that for some boss battles, but in better because even these airship bosses were also extremely easy, and after the second one, you will groan when you see it's the same thing again, but this time there's like toy enemies that don't even try to shoot their laser at you because you can finish it in under 5 seconds. You can't tell me there isn't a single person sitting in the office and thinking, hey, I'm gonna doodle something onto a napkin during my break that will look cool and better than Bowser Jr. It's just a bit weird how they try their best to make most stages feel so unique with new enemies, new little gimmicks, and more everywhere, and then the boss battles are just so uninspired. I'm the biggest hater of the Koopalings, and this game managed me to actually want them back. Just a bit though. They can never return for all I care about. So, what's left? The graphics and soundtrack. It's a colorful game and the new animations give the characters so much more life. It's just so cute seeing them in action and finally having a new look for them. They are way more expressive and it's not just the playable characters but also all of the enemies. Goombas who are sleeping and wake up in fear when they see you. The enemy animations when they get smashed off the screen with the power of the almighty elephant. Everything just feels so charming, except for the Poplins. They're a cheap dollar store version of Toads. Something about them looks unsettling to me, and I also do not like the Prince Florian. Just his name alone makes me not like him. Sorry to every Florian out there. I even had a friend with that name back in the day. But it's a fitting name for him since he's a caterpillar and the name basically means flower in Latin because it's based on the word florus, floris and floss. And caterpillars like flowers, and it's the flower kingdom. I had Latin in school for 2 years and it was the biggest mistake of my life, but hey, still better than having to learn French. The soundtrack also is okay. I'm bad at judging music because I can make my own and I was fairly bad at music class in school, but sadly there's only like one standout theme in the game for me that made me think, man, this is a song I will remember for a longer time, and it's the Funny Minds theme. There's something so unique and mysterious about it, unlike most of the more upbeat songs of the game. In the end, Mario Wonder still feels a bit lacking though, and I think that's on myself for expecting too much. For me, a franchise like Mario kinda has to be making masterpiece after masterpiece, something that blows your mind. Despite the new flair, the cute little new gimmicks and so many new enemies, it still feels like a standard 2D Mario. It's obviously more creative than in new games, but it still lacks that wow factor that I would expect from a series such as Mario, which we get all the time in the 3D games except for 3D World and 3D Land. It certainly makes me excited to see what's next for 2D Mario, and I hope we won't have to wait another 11 years, but I also sure hope we won't get the idea of these Wonder Seeds milked to hell and back. I think I just also have to lower my expectations about what 2D Mario, I say 2D so much today, is for Nintendo themselves. They easily could change the locations and worlds, but they don't want to. Nobody knows what the future brings, so it doesn't really matter, except if you work for Nintendo and want to pitch some ideas for the next one. First thing I would pitch is telling them to add Rosalina. If Daisy can be a playable character, then she can too. One day. Maybe that sounds pretty harsh that I just see it as a standard new 2D Mario game and makes me sound like I didn't enjoy the game, but it's the complete opposite. I had lots of fun with it, even when revisiting it, but I think I finally have to come to terms with that 2D Mario games will never be these groundbreaking games again that change the genre, and it doesn't have to be. It would be a bit mean to expect every game to be something that drastically changes the way we see jumping once. Also, I hate the way the multiplayer works in this game, and I am sad I can't pick up people anymore or let them pick me up and grief each other. That was like the whole fun of it. Why not just make it an option you can turn on or off? Boom, easy solution. But Nintendo hates easy solutions. You may say they did it because online it would be too laggy, but who cares? If you and your friends got a nice LAN connection, even something like Mario Maker 2 was totally fine most of the time. Please bring griefing back, please. I want to grieve. I'm not even a mean person, but it's fun if your friends are okay with it. You know, if someone tells me to stop, I will stop, but if they don't tell me to stop, I won't stop. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and will have a good day, a good night, or whatever fits your time zone. If you're having a good night, then I hope you will have some good relaxing sleep and get reawakened by your newly bought Nintendo Alamo that you can buy for the measly price of just $100. That's the deal of the century for an alarm clock. Miyamoto told me to say this, or else I won't be able to see my family anymore. Bye bye.